In this life is nothing more than a journey of time full of events that can impact, fashion, and mold each of us. That's the testaments of life that we all share, which stitches the fabric of the books of individual lives, and this is their story. In their own words, it's raw, uncut, unfiltered, and in their own truth. This is My Story by Ordinary People. Welcome to My Story by Ordinary People with me, Azana Fuqua. Our next guest story is a story of defeat and survival. Please welcome Geresha.
Hi, my name is Geresha. I'm just a regular person with a story, and I'm just trying to tell somebody about a person who can save anybody, and that person was me. I battled with suicide and depression, and this is my story. It was three of us in the home growing up, and I had an outside sister. So she grew up with us as well. I was the baby, and of course, being a baby, nobody wants a little nagging little child hanging around with them. So I was basically isolated and left alone to be with my grandparents and my other cousins that would come visit. It all began when I was 14 years old, and my mom told me one day that she could no longer supply my needs because my sister had a baby. So the first granddaughter was born, and my mom devoted her time to the baby. Well, I was accustomed to getting everything I wanted. I was accustomed to having nice things, designer labels. So to be told at that age that I could no longer be provided for, I could no longer get my majorette uniforms, my cheerleader uniforms, I felt like, okay, who's going to look after me now? So at that point, I went and took pills. I took about 50 pills. Not enough to kill myself because they were antibiotics, but I was trying to get the attention that I desired from my mother because at the time, all of her attention was put into my niece. So my mom told me to go take some cooking oil and a potato and take my ass to bed after she whooped me. At that point, I was like, why should I even be here? Nobody cares if I live or die. I felt like I needed counseling and therapy at that point because that trickled down a cycle for me to attach myself to people who would tell me, you know, you're beautiful, you're pretty, we love you, but their intentions wasn't good. They wanted something from me. So I hit the streets. I attached myself to men who sold drugs. I attached myself to older men who I knew may wanted to touch my body, be around me, and give me money. So with doing those things, I became promiscuous. I lost my virginity at 14 years old. I began to sell drugs. I began to run drugs. So I went through all of that thinking that I was really living. I thought that I was really, you know, having myself together at a young age, but actually I was dying on the inside. And I was dying because I didn't get the attention that I desired from my mother or my father. He was absent in the home as well. So I didn't get the love that I felt like I desired or deserved as a young girl growing up. My mom worked a lot of hours once she split up from my dad, so a lot of her time was invested either at work or with my older sisters. So me being a baby, I clinged to a lot of other people. I would stay at my friends' homes because their parents showed us attention, showed me the time and the love that I desired. I would go out with different men and boys because they gave me the time and the attention that I sought from my mom.
But you was the babies.
I was the baby. You would think you would be spoiled and get everything you want. I had everything I desired physically or naturally, materially, but the things that I needed on the inside to become a young woman coming of age, learning about her cycle and things like that, I didn't get that. I learned those things in school from reading books. I was always inquisitive, and I started writing a diary at 9 years old. My mom kept us with a journal and diary, and that became my outlet. But all the time, I felt ugly. I didn't feel beautiful, but I could go into a room and brighten everyone else's day. I could light the room up, make them laugh, make them smile, And that was a facade for them not to really see the real me. I lived a double life majority of my life because I didn't want anybody to know the hurt and the pain that I was experiencing on the inside, because I dealt with some molestation and inappropriate touch issues. And those things kind of broke my spirit early on. And when I told a trusted adult, they told me, to stop lying. If it is happening, that's what us women go through. And I'm sitting there like, us women? I'm only a girl. So you mean to tell me that I'm supposed to allow another person to violate me and just have to endure it? So at that point, I was asking God, why am I here? Why did you create me to be stepped on, walked on, and abused? Why did you give me to people who's supposed to love me, but they broke me? They abused that love and the power of that love. And I joined several clubs and organizations to keep busy so I wouldn't go home and be subjected to the verbal, physical, and emotional abuse.
When did it start?
The inappropriate touch started when I was 4 years old, and it was with same sex.
Somebody in the family?
It was a giant in my life. And I like to call it a giant because at this age, you don't want to open those doors and wounds for that person either, because we've healed from it, because it was a generational cycle of things happening to them as well. And now that we're old enough and compared to stories, I can forgive that person because they was a child too that was being touched inappropriately. So I would call it my giant. My giant started when I was 4 years old. And I can recall, being manipulated to do certain sexual things. So when I got a little older, I started reading, and you be introduced to television, you see certain things, and you may have older people that have like the Playboy magazines and things like that, and you get to see, okay, a man and a woman doing this. So why was this person that looked just like me got the same parts as I do? Why was they making me do this and that? So it was things, even when I went to Girl Scout camp, you would see the little Caucasian girls engaging in lesbian sex, but I never was, no, because it happened to me early on and I never liked it.
How did it make you feel internally knowing that you were being violated at such young age?
At that time, I didn't even know it was a violation. I just thought I was playing. I thought it was a part of playing because I was so young. Mm. But as I grew older and was taught, a person shouldn't touch this part of you, a person shouldn't do that, then I realized, oh, wow, I was violated. Mm-hmm. I did something that was bad. Yeah. So I toted that thinking I was bad. And when my body was woke up, before my mind was able to handle that, I wanted that feeling again. It didn't matter who gave it to me or how I got it. I searched and longed for that feeling. So I would let the giant that came when I was 8 years old, they would entice me with nice things. They would entice me with the best snacks, because where I was from, we had to get the cornbread, the beans, the greens, everything on the hog, while certain picks would get the tacos, the nachos, the pizzas, the good cereal, things like that. So this person would entice me with the nicer things. By me being a baby, my siblings would play the game. We had an Atari game. I wouldn't get a turn to play. But my giant, they had their own. And it was just them. So they would ask me, well, hey, I'll teach you how to play the game. So here I am, little gullible little girl. I want to know how to play the game too. So I would go into the giant's room and play the game. But as I'm playing the game, they would touch me inappropriately, put their penis all over my body. I didn't realize what ejaculation and semen was until I got a little older, but I knew white stuff would be all over me. I wasn't penetrated, but I felt like I was a dumping ground at that point. Once I woke up and realized this person was using me for their gratification, but my body was being stimulated in ways that I didn't know about, didn't know what it was. So I said, okay, I can let them touch this and get this. So that started a cycle of me looking at men as nothing but an object to get what I needed and get what I wanted. So at 14, when my mom said she wasn't going to take care of me, I went back to, hey, I got something they want. And so I'm going to go get what I need and let them do what they want. And I didn't like it, but there was a choice I had to make: either stop being the cheerleader, the majorette, the girl that was popular, the girl that could dress, or go get what you wanted and have the lifestyle that you was accustomed to. And that's what I chose to do. And as I grew a little older, I started using my brain. I realized I had a tool up here. I was like, I'm not going to sleep with these men. I'm going to give them some time and attention. And I'm going to see what they're lacking. So a lot of them was lacking in schoolwork. I was like, hey, you pay me this, I'll do your homework. Because I was like, okay, I want to save myself for marriage. But I still had these urges that my body was still telling me, hey, I'm in control. I want what I want. So the sex didn't stop. I just found a steady, and that is to bring home to mama so she could be okay with it. But I always kept an older person because they would give me the money. I was selling drugs early because I was dating boys who was selling drugs. And I would take some of it and sell it. And I saw that I could make money doing that, so I started doing it. I started running drugs. I didn't do little dimes here and there. I did weights. Because if I was going to go down, I was going to go down.
Were you ever caught?
For something for real. I was never caught. No one would ever thought that I was even selling drugs, even in school in my locker, because I was a straight A student. I was president of my class. Used to be president in the honor society. I was on student council. I was the model student on paper. But after 215, I was a beast.
Were you using it over?
No, I never did marijuana until I was well above my 20s. And I didn't start using marijuana regularly until I had a nervous breakdown at 33.
So at 33, you had a nervous breakdown. Why?
At 33, I had a mental breakdown because I found out that all 3 of my children had been touched inappropriately by people I trusted.
Same as you had then?
Same as I had been. And I had vowed when I started having children that I was going to protect them with my life. And I always told my kids, if anybody touch you, I'm going to kill them. And we have to be careful what we say to those young sponges. I said children are like sponges. They're going to absorb what you say, but they're not going to always be able to take it for what it is. They took me so literal to where they was like, if I tell my mom this is going on, she going to kill this person. She going to kill that person. She going to be in jail for the rest of my life.
When you had the breakdown when you was 33, what happened?
As far as getting help?
No, what did you do? Did you go off the deep end or?
I checked myself in Lakeside.
When you had the breakdown?
Because I knew.
But what led up to that? What actually what was the incident that made you, besides knowing that the children have been?
Because the state took them. My children were taken from me.
And you couldn't take it no more, so that would
to lose the 3 perfect things that I made, and I fought hard to keep, and protect with everything. They took up. And it made me feel less than a woman. To know that I broke my neck to have my first child, because when I got pregnant at 17, everybody wanted me to have an abortion because I had 21 scholarships to college. I had been traveling through the Mid-South with my mom, trying out for majorette teams for the band, and to know that, hey, 2 months later I found out I'm pregnant. So she basically felt like my life was over. I felt like my life was just beginning, because one thing about it, God is not going to bring you to it and not get you through it. And I laid down and did it, and I was going to take my charge, because it could have been worse. I could have had a disease I couldn't get rid of. So for me, I had a sister that had a baby. She got pregnant at 16. So I'm like, okay, at least I am in high school getting ready to graduate. I don't care about walking with a belly. My mom had 2 kids when she graduated high school, but she felt like it was okay because she was married. She got married at 17 when she had her first baby. Second baby, she was pregnant coming out of high school. So because she was married, she felt like, her situation was okay. But you wasn't married when you first got pregnant. So sometimes we have to look at the root. Bad fruits have roots. So sometimes we have to go all the way back and look at those roots. And so I saw a cycle. I didn't have examples. When they asked me, why you get pregnant? Well, I didn't have examples. What examples did I have? I saw promiscuity. I saw shacking. I saw fornicating. I saw all those things. And I was told, if my dad told me, you're not married, you could have as many men as you want until you get married. And that's how I lived my life. I changed them like I changed my drawers. And I wore panties every day. So for me, men were just tools that I used. So when I had my first baby, my family kind of turned their back on me during the pregnancy. My mom, I was sick, throwing up. She wouldn't take me to the doctor. When I finally did go, they told me that me and the baby may die. And they called her. My mom came to the hospital. For the first time in my life that I can recall, at 18, when I was 17 years old, my mom told me she loved me and kissed me on the cheek. My son's father was holding my hand sitting next to me. And when my mom kissed me, I felt ice cold. No emotion. I didn't feel anything. And I was like, am I not normal? And he was like, what you mean? I said, because my mom just kissed me and told me she loved me, and I don't even know how to receive it. I've never heard it. How can you love something and throw it away? Because I felt thrown away, tossed to the side. And she didn't come to my class day. She didn't help me pay for my senior dues. She didn't come to my baccalaureate service. My mom came to my graduation and didn't give me a gift. She said she wasn't going to promote my bullshit. She wasn't going to do anything to help me because I chose to become a young mother. It didn't matter that I was number 6 in my class out of 226 students. It didn't matter that I was voted most likely to succeed. It didn't matter that I was the class president. What mattered was that I had stained the Anderson family name. Her perfect little girls, the little bubbles, the little girls that she dressed up in all the designer labels was bringing shame to her. But my child wasn't the first grandchild. And I wasn't the first one to get pregnant as a teenager. So why was my sin, I guess, or my poor choice so hard on her or tarnish the family? So I felt like the black sheep. And I felt like I had let my family down. So I didn't want to live. But when I pushed that baby out, I had no choice but to live. Because it was not only about me, it was about him too. So I had to learn how to be a mother. I had to learn how to grow and develop even in my own self. So I moved out at 18 and said I'd never go back. Because I don't want my children or my child subjected to what I went through. And I stuck with it. I never went back. When I did try to go back after my mom retired, me and my kids went to stay with her. I said, well, I can help my mom. She's retired. Kids are older. We could see what we could do. It didn't work. We couldn't get along. I was in my mom's house a month and left. And me and my kids packed up, slept on the floor. I didn't care until I got my stuff out of storage. We couldn't commingle. It was too much damage and hurt because she would say she was sorry, but, or it was always, why you looking like that? Oh, you look like Shanae. Oh, you're ugly. People say, well, you're so pretty. You look just like your mom. She don't look like me. She ugly. She fat. I would have clothes and shoes that men have bought for me and things like that. My mom would take and say, well, this ain't for you. You too fat to wear this. Or you're not pretty enough for this. Give this to your sister. Or I'm going to take this and give this to this person. And I was like, okay. But guess what? The next day I had more. Because, I mean, you could take it, you could give it away, but I was going to adorn my outer because I didn't want anybody to see the inside. I was hurt. I was messed up. And it took for me to have kids, meet my children's father. His family was full of love and encouragement and acceptance. And I knew them from the neighborhood, but I just didn't know them. And when I started dating my second son's father. This man poured so much time and attention into me, and he was in church for real. I grew up going to church and I wanted to learn all different religions, but I had never felt God for real. I was just going. So when I went to church with him and I felt the Spirit touch me and say, look, it's a purpose for you being here. You went through all of this so I can bring you further, so I can help you help someone else. Because I've always been a vocal person. I'm not going to hide behind nobody's mess. They could shut me up as a child, but you can't shut me up as an adult. So I chose to break free of those chains, and I vowed that I would not let anybody hurt my kids. Even my mom would, get on my children about touching a picture frame or knocking over a plant. I would get my children and leave because they're mine. That's the family that I created, and I refuse to let you do them verbally and physically and emotionally like you did me. So when I found that they had been molested and the state took my kids, I didn't want to live. I wanted to just die. And I knew I needed help. I was like, it's a reason for this happening, but right now I don't know why it's happening. I knew things had to come to the head and come to the light for us to deal with it and be able to heal and move forward. But at that point in time in my life, I feel like a failure. I feel like I didn't protect them. I feel like I let my children down. And I wanted to die. And I was like, I need to go somewhere. I need to get help. They took my daughter to get help. She was in Lakeside. So I was like, let me go check myself in. Let me go get assessed before I go and put this gun to my head and blow my brains out. Let me go, because I still got children out here to live for. Even though they're not with me right now, I'm getting my children back. So I had to get mentally stable enough to get them back. And I was like, let me go check myself in and see, what's going on, because I couldn't even focus. I couldn't drive. I had to get somebody to drop me off and drive me there. And the person kept saying, oh, you good. You don't need you'll get through it and this and that. We're going to pray for you. I was like, nah, I need more than prayer right now, because I'm ready to go burn some houses up. I'm ready to cut some throats. I'm ready to even, go kill everybody that ever did something to me wrong. So at this point, I'm not on suicide, I'm homicide, because y'all fuck with my kids. If I could say that, I'm just saying, you fuck with the wrong ones, because these mine. And to me, they were perfect. And I feel like there's three things I got right. Healthy babies. So when I went in for my assessment, my blood pressure was through the roof. My heart rate was like over 200, and they was asking me what was going on, and I told them, I said, well, at this point, I don't even want to live anymore. And they were like, why? What happened? So I started telling them that I found out my children had been molested, and the state has taken my kids, and I don't have nothing to live for. If I don't have my children, why am I here? I feel like my only life at that point was being a mother. I had forgot that I was still a woman. So I got my assessment and they admitted me. I was in Lakeside for 30 days. But while I was there, I learned how to face my giants. I had to write a letter to everybody that had ever hurt me. And I wrote that letter to them. And they made us tear it up and put it into the lake. I said, okay. I wrote it. I read it out loud. Put it into the lake.
This has been another segment of My Story by Ordinary People. Make sure to tune in every Wednesday right here at 7:30 p.m. I've been your host, Azana Fuqua. Thank you for watching. Until next time, be well, my friends. Tune in next week for the conclusion of part 2 of Geresha's story, Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. on this channel.